welcome to December, the month where wallets weep, paychecks disappear, and gift giving seems like a budget-busting marathon. Well, honey, not for me. And it doesn't have to be that way for you either. That's right. In fact, I already have 20 store-bought gifts wrapped and ready to go that cost me less than $50 total. And my food budget, that's slashed to the bone too. Because December isn't actually the month for overspending, it's really the time where frugal masterminds thrive. So let me show you how I make the most feeding my family meals that go on the table and in the freezer or pantry for later. How I've been a proud Christmas cheapskate for nearly 2 decades with no one being the wiser. Well, except for you. And well, these pantry chats are our monthly check-in, so honey, cozy in because I've got a lot to share. You already know how I do. I sprinkle in life updates with all the tips and tricks that I share, and this month I am extra chatty. Don't worry, you'll love it. However, I know that you've got things to do, places to go, and people to see, and that's exactly why this video has a free printable grocery guide with 5 recipe cards guiding you through the recipes that I share with you. Because walking into a grocery store without a game plan is precisely what retailers want you to do. Now here's how you beat them at their own game. Shop seasonal and cyclical. Darling, doing that is your best hope because if you haven't noticed, convenience foods are pricey, shrinking in size, and packed with less nutrition than ever. Meanwhile, simple staples and 30-minute meals like I share, they're budget friendly and way better for you. That's why I want you to use the seasonal grocery guide that I give you so that you can identify what you're going to eat fresh and then also what you need to stock up on and preserve for later. You know, whether you're gonna can it, ferment it, freeze it, dehydrate it, whatever, so that you have enough to last when you can no longer source it inexpensively or grow it yourself. Plus, you can and should adjust all the recipes I share without too much guesswork. So if you haven't grabbed your guide already, click in the link in the description box or in the pinned comment below. Okay, so let me go ahead and get ready to read the first few pages of the December grocery guide. Remember, these are the fruits and veggies that are in season, meaning peak flavor, high nutrition, and low cost. They'll be the cheapest options that you find in comparison to other items, so these are the ingredients that you want to meal plan around. Okay, so the fruits that are in season in December include, the first category, your citrus fruits. So you're gonna have things like your oranges. Your navel and blood oranges are abundant and they're gonna provide that sweet and tangy taste to your meals. You're gonna have your mandarins, and these include clementines, tangerines, satsumas, which are known for their easy to peel skins and their sweetness. Your grapefruits, your lemons, and your limes, which are just essential to adding that zest to your winter dishes. You're also gonna have your pome fruits like apples. These varieties include Fuji, Gala, and Granny Smith are still very fresh and crisp. And then all of your pear varieties that offer you those sweet and juicy options. In terms of your berries, this is when we're going to have cranberries, which are perfect for sauces and baking. Another category that December is great for includes your tropical fruits. So things like your pomegranates, which add that sweet tartness to dishes. Your kiwi fruit that adds that tangy flavor and that vibrant green color. Your persimmons, pineapples, which are at their peak sweetness during the winter months, and then also your kumquats, which have edible skins and offer this sweet tart flavor. And don't forget about your stone fruits, because this month we have dates, which are naturally sweet and harvested in the late fall up until through usually December. And some other categories of fruits include grapes. You will notice some late kind of winter varieties are still available. And then you'll also see probably your quinces, and these are fragrant and ideal for your jellies and jams. Okay, so let's pivot to your vegetables that are in season in December, and this includes beets, broccoli, Brussels sprouts, cabbage, carrots, cauliflower, collards, kale, leeks, parsnips, potatoes, pumpkins, rutabagas, sweet potatoes, turnips, and winter squash. There you have it. Now all we have to do is take these fruits and vegetables, pair them with pantry staples, and you've got a healthy, budget-friendly meal on the table that didn't break the bank. So my first meal idea starts with the lingering ingredient that may be in your fridge or freezer right now. I'm talking about stuffing, which you may still have some left over from Thanksgiving, or you will this Christmas. This recipe is such an easy spin. Take a look.
Turkey and Fritters stuffers are the perfect way to mix and match a number of leftovers you have on hand. Use a large bowl to mix the stuffing, an egg or two, chopped onion, and a handful of fresh or dried rosemary or parsley. And by the way, whenever you have soft stems like parsley, basil, or cilantro, include the stems. They have great flavor and don't need to be tossed out. Then add your leftover turkey, ham, or even chicken and stir to combine and ensure that you have a moist texture and that it's seasoned with just a pinch more of salt and pepper to taste. Now we're going to organize our dredging station by setting out a bowl of beaten eggs and then breadcrumbs. Plain or panko are fine, but I'm using this pork rind version that my dad says he likes, and then some flour. Mold a patty shape with your hands, and then you're going to dip it into the flour. You want to coat it really well. Then you're just going to shake off any excess and then coat your patty in the egg. Shake that off, and then finally toss it into your breadcrumbs. You're going to end up with something that looks like this, and then you're going to add your fritters to a pan of shallow, warm oil. I'm using avocado oil. And then when they appear well browned and hot all the way through, you're going to go ahead and flip them. I'd estimate about 3 to 4 minutes on each side at this size. Remove your fritter to a towel to drain the excess oil, and you've got a savory, crunchy, delicious meal that used ingredients you already had on hand or can easily adapt. Now, if I had extra cranberry sauce, I would have topped it with that, but I didn't, so I used homemade sour cream, which was equally pleasing. I garnished with the remaining parsley, and I don't think I have to tell you how much of a treat these fritters taste like. I mean, it's all the savory flavors of your holiday meals all in one. You're gonna love this recipe.
Do you think making jam is too complicated or not healthy enough to be a condiment? Well, this recipe proves you wrong on both counts.
Here are the ingredients for this recipe. Very simple and very healthy. You've got fresh seasonal cranberries, fresh strawberries, although frozen or canned also work really well, chia seeds, which are high in omega-3s and fiber, chopped or pitted dates, a bit of lemon juice, and your preferred sweetener. I'm using a keto maple syrup to keep this recipe low sugar for my dad. In a heavy bottom saucepan, you'll combine the cranberries, chopped dates, chia seeds, a splash of lemon, and then a cup or two of water or orange juice, and bring everything to a low boil over medium heat, because in a few minutes you're about to hear your cranberries pop. And that'll give us time to destem and core your strawberries so that you can toss them into the pan as well. And then you're going to cover and cook them for 15 minutes. Let things cool, and then use an immersion blender to smoothly blend the cranberries and add the strawberries, which by now have turned into that unmistakable thick, jammy texture. And you're done. Yep, that's it. All that's left is to transfer the jam to a sealed container. These jars will last for a month in the fridge. Now, while I love canning recipes, this recipe uses chia seeds, which are not approved for canning. Liven up your biscuits, toast, and sandwiches this winter with the sweet tart combo that is cranberry strawberry. You'll love it.
If this is our first time meeting, hi, I'm Cassandra from the blog becomingaffarmgirl.com, and I'm here to help you start cooking with what's in season, on sale, and better yet, already on your shelf. So if you haven't already, click on the link in the description box or in the pinned comment to start getting my monthly grocery guide delivered straight to your inbox. If you only knew how easy it was to make your own cranberry juice, you'd probably do it more often.
Add your cranberries to a large stock pot. For every 4 cups of cranberries, pour in about 4 to 5 cups of water. Bring the pot to a gentle boil over medium-high heat. As the cranberries heat, they'll begin to burst open and release their juices. Let them simmer for at least 15 minutes and up to an hour for a more concentrated flavor. Here's the color payout for the first 15 minutes and then an hour later. Now, I've never noticed a huge difference, so just go with the time that you have on hand. Strain the mixture through a fine mesh strainer or cheesecloth to separate the juice from the pulp. The result is pure, unsweetened cranberry juice, perfectly tart and refreshing. And oh, save the skins. You can dehydrate them to make your own milder tasting cran raisins or blend them into a cranberry powder for baking. Now I'm lightly sprinkling mine with an allulose and brown sugar combo. These are gonna be so good on top of my morning oatmeal. While the juice is still warm, carefully ladle it into your sterilized jars, leaving about a 1/4 inch of headspace. Next, you're going to wipe the rims clean with a damp cloth. Then you're going to place new lids on the jars. The best on the market are the 4 Jars brand, and you can take 10% off of your order using my code FARMGIRL10. Screw on the rings until they're fingertip tight, and then submerge your jars in a large stock pot, ensuring that they're covered by at least 1 inch of water. You're going to process your jars for 15 minutes for pints or quarts. Now, I did save some of the cranberry juice to enjoy immediately, and I love these pour spout lids that fit over any wide mouth mason jar. Now, let me put this in the fridge. Once the time is up, turn off the heat and let the jars sit for a few minutes, then carefully lift them out using a jar lifter. Let your jars cool undisturbed for 12 to 24 hours. Congrats, you've got shelf-stable cranberry juice.
Okay, so I am not finished with the meal ideas, but I wanted to take a moment to share how I am always ready for the holiday season without buying gifts, because we opted out of that years ago. And many of our acquaintances haven't even realized it. But I will include the timestamp for the meal ideas if you are just here for that. Because here's where the coffee talk comes in. So my feelings won't be hurt and your time won't be wasted. Okay, good, you stayed, because this is good. It's blunt and it's good. Now I do need to give my standard warning, because this is where I weave in and out of tones that make me sound like a grandma, auntie, sister, and best friend all in one, and I won't apologize for it. Look, the holidays give the impression of static joy and sparing no expense, when in actuality, the sprint from Thanksgiving to Christmas can be the most stressful time of year, emotionally, physically, and financially. And that can leave you really drained. And in last year's December Pantry chat, I unpacked how industrialization contributed to Christmas transforming from a modest, quiet, and family-centered religious celebration into the bustling, high-pressure season of festivities that, well, we know today. And instead, it became the time of year where we were told to go all out and show our love through gifts and grand gestures. Because here's the thing, focusing all of your love and care into a single day of gift giving might not actually make the most sense. Because the needs, wants, and experiences of the people that you care about won't magically align on one specific date. True gift giving is thoughtful and responsive. And it's rarely tied to a calendar. That's why my family, husband, and I don't use December 25th as our barometer. And that's made this time of year like any other month, and certainly not about purchases that we've got to make. Think about it. How much do you value that relationship if you need a date on the calendar to be your clue to initiate an act of kindness or a gift for that person? That line of thinking makes sense to everyone. I don't care who you are. Think about it. If a person that you knew needed help with a major chore on December 12th and you told them no, but then on the 25th you gave them some gift of your choice, what do you think they would have preferred and appreciated more? Or if you and a friend met up on November 1st and went out and saw a show and spent the majority of the day together, are you really again griefing that person for something on the 25th? Look, my parents just really instilled that a date is not the driver of when you get something. Case in point, my parents would remind my brother and I that we were able to get exactly what we needed as we needed it. And that was a true marker that you were blessed. There'd be so many times where my mom would take advantage of the post-winter markdowns on clothes and buy them 2 sizes up for my brother and I. And as we needed them in the following months or years, she'd always have them ready. And guess who still maintains that habit? Yes, my brother and I to this day. And I've shared that with y'all. I mean, a whole lot of our house is secondhand and no one would be any the wiser. I hope I'm not losing you, so let me ramble through a few more things. Okay, so not only did I grow up in a military family, but I am also currently a military wife. So the relationship that I've had with days of celebration, whether they be holidays or birthdays or anniversaries, has always been different from mainstream. And the folks that really get what I'm about to say are also people who have family members that often aren't afforded those days off. And that's usually the spouses of truck drivers, police officers, firefighters, providers, folks that work in the medical field, or security. You'll occasionally have those days off, but many times you won't. So you just get very used to celebrating, birthdays, holidays, taking trips with whoever is available at that time. Yeah, so we don't wait for the calendar clues because you can make more memories now if you just go ahead and plan events, because it will be so many fewer opportunities if you are always waiting for the stars to magically align for everyone. Case in point, my husband Trey is often deployed during holidays, but he and I will do things together as a couple or with our family in the weeks that are leading up to a particular date or even after. And then as we do that at that off date, that in our minds is our fill in the blank, our Christmas, our Thanksgiving, our spring break, Oh, and let me tell you, the advantage to doing that is that things are often less crowded. You're going to get a better price. Oh, it's glorious. Plus, throughout the year, as we live our life, I truly love giving gifts to my family and my friends and my neighbors and my coworkers, just because as these organic experiences or conversations happen, and that is an awesome feeling for sure. And these are combinations of items that are from my garden or meals that I'll completely make and just want to share. Or sometimes there's even something on Amazon that makes me think of that person because we recently had a conversation, or from the thrift shop, a craft fair, or the farmer's market. I mean, there really is, I love giving gifts all of the time, and that happens throughout the year, but maybe not always on December 25th. And plus, as you get older, who needs one more trinket? And you less and less need something that fits under a tree, because instead you value those check-ins, calls, visits, and trips. And knowing that you have a handful of people that you can call when you really need help with the task. I mean, you value that way more than what? A candle? A sweater? So with that being said, I do this instead because I do enjoy the act of gift giving, but the commercialization part is a farce. Honey, I do hope you know that the gifts that you may be going out and buying this year for your colleagues, your neighbors, your friends, and your family will absolutely be marked down 50 to 75% off the very next day after Christmas. So here's what I'll do. In the weeks leading up to Christmas, I'll visit different stores and I'll start to just notice different things that I want to have my eyes on, so that when it goes on sale after Christmas, I know exactly where to go. However, they must follow the non-perishable rule, because I do store everything in a tote that goes in the attic. And here's what you do. You are going to love it. You hit those stores the morning after Christmas as soon as they open. And I am telling you, it is an amazing shopping experience because you avoid the crowds and the chaos that were there just 24 hours before. And you purchase those items at pennies to the dollar, knowing that you're tucking them away for next year. And because those items have a holiday design, everyone thinks that you've likely purchased them, within the week or two, but no, you haven't. You are actually shopping from your Christmas clearance inventory. Okay, so let's circle back to the conversation about taking advantage to make memories throughout the year instead of waiting for a calendar date to make memories. Okay, so if I said to you North Carolina, the images and thoughts that come to mind now would be very different than what would have come to mind in just June of this year. So let's rewind in time. Last year when I was visiting my parents in the spring, I noticed that my mom had gotten this new dish set and it was titled like the Biltmore edition. And as soon as I saw that, I said, oh, Mom, we should go take a visit to the Biltmore Estate in North Carolina. And it was actually pretty easy to convince my parents because it would kind of be the halfway point for both of us, since they are in Florida and I'm in Maryland. And we would each have about a 7.5-hour drive. Now my brother and my husband will be working, but Mom and Dad are retired and I would be off. So Thor and I hopped in the Gray Wolf and we met them in North Carolina.
We found the perfect Airbnb tucked 20 minutes outside of Asheville and Black Mountain, but most of our time was spent enjoying our 2-day pass to the Biltmore. I've always loved watching historical dramas on TV where rich stories unfold against stunning period backdrops. Visiting historical landmarks is our favorite way to travel, so seeing the Biltmore Estate in real life was an absolute treat. The initial impression of the estate is just as grandiose as you'd expect, and after grabbing our tickets, we enjoyed a bonus tour called Below the Stairs, and then meandered through the gardens before the official house tour. The Biltmore Estate gardens aren't just beautiful, they're a masterpiece of design, vision, and history. Designed by the legendary Frederick Olmsted, often called the father of American landscape architecture, these gardens are a testament to Olmsted's genius. He's the same mind behind Central Park in New York City, and here at the Biltmore, he transformed over 8,000 acres into a harmony of nature and art. My dad, who also enjoys photography, was able to capture some truly stunning photos showing the beauty of the greenhouse and landscaping. When it's time for your tour of the Biltmore, you'll love that it's a self-paced audio tour throughout the 250-room mansion, which is an extraordinary glimpse into the Gilded Age, a period of grandeur, innovation, and luxury. Vanderbilt spared no expense in the interiors and curated every detail. Hand-carved wood, gilded ceilings, and imported fabrics. Each room tells a story of craftsmanship and sophistication. One of the most awe-inspiring rooms in the Biltmore is the library, which houses over 10,000 books from George Vanderbilt's personal collection. Vanderbilt was an avid reader, fluent in several languages, and a lover of history, art, and science. This library reflects not just his wealth, but his curiosity about the world. As you move through the Biltmore, it's impossible not to be struck by the light and space. Massive windows and terraces offer sweeping views of the Blue Ridge Mountains, overlooking the breathtaking estate grounds. The Biltmore wasn't just a place for quiet study, it was also a hub for entertainment. Deep below the house is a 70,000-gallon indoor swimming pool complete with underwater lighting, a marvel of technology for its time. And if that wasn't enough, the estate had a 2-lane bowling alley, the first of its kind in a private home in America. Beyond the grandeur of the Biltmore house lies another treasure on the estate, the farm at Antler Hill Village. Here you'll find displays of historic farm tools and equipment, offering a window into how food was grown, livestock was raised, and the land was managed over a century ago. Dad and I especially love this part, and this had him reminiscing about his childhood days spent at my great-grandma's Louisiana homestead.
Another bucket, when you say priming the pump, see right there, that center there, hole there?
Yep.
That's where you would pour water down into it to prime the pump, and then that would create a vacuum and suction that then would bring water that's down in the well, then come out the snout right here. So that was called priming the pump and stuff, and that's the only way you can get water out.
Gotcha. Okay, I've used that expression before without actually knowing the mechanics.
Priming the pump.
Your favorite chore as a child?
No.
It's great for busy boys.
The butter that came out of there was delicious.
To manage operations here at Biltmore. When I was conducting research for Biltmore Estate,
That's the same one that you had. It was like a rat safe. All it was, a rat safe.
Yeah, that's the real churn.
This is the real deal.
Okay, all right.
This here, this is the real deal Big Mama's house. porcelain just like this.
All right.
Yeah, that's the real deal. Making that, y'all put the milk in there, sit there and churn this bad boy. And next thing you know, you got yourself some of the sweetest butter. That's the real deal.
Okay. All right. That's what I got to work my way up to.
That's the real deal.
All right. What are we looking at, Dad?
That's a plow.
Okay.
That's a plow.
And did it look this way on Big Mama's farm? Okay. How heavy is that thing, Dad?
Oh, the mule or the horses was pulling it.
Right, but still, I mean, you had to like put it on them.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean, it's
then
weighty.
You had this big leather thing that went around you, kind of like you trying to put around me for Thor.
Yeah.
And you use that, and but yeah, you walked back there, and you found yourself a point up ahead.
Okay.
And you basically go straight for that point in order to keep your line straight. You had to keep your line straight. If you didn't keep your line straight, you got to do it all over again because you're wasting space.
Makes sense. Yeah.
You had to keep your line straight. Oh, that was no fun.
Chimney Rock is one of North Carolina's most iconic natural landmarks. Visitors can climb a series of well-built staircases or take the modern elevator through the mountain itself, a feat of engineering that adds a touch of ease to the climb. From the summit, you'll be treated to a 360-degree panorama of the Blue Ridge Mountains and the shimmering waters of Lake Lure far below.
You made it, Dad. Oh, this is a little
Hey,
town
I
we
was gonna
drove
make
through.
it.
Incredible. Okay, you need to have a picture here. Air Force, my daddy's Air Force. You need to have that with the flag. on the back.
Yes.
We got it.
Oh, you did.
No, I got one up down there. That's why I told her don't to come up here.
Oh, that is a
From
great
up
shot.
here and up higher.
I'll get some video of
you
that.
actually catch the rock and the flag.
Really?
Yeah.
All right, Dad, we did the opera box. Got some good shots there. All right.
Got my breath.
All right. But we're gonna go up. It looks
So
maybe
this
60
is why
steps.
I gotta nail this bucket list of mine because
Yeah, it's not getting any easier.
it does not get easier. So you gotta go ahead and
It gets prettier as you go up too. So yeah, you guys got it. Coming down is 1,000 times easier.
All right, Dad, you're almost there.
now I am there.
Now, even though it may seem that I do things a bit differently from most, I would have you know that I truly enjoy this time of year. As a Christian, Christmas is about celebrating the birth of our Lord and Savior Jesus Christ, and even though this date is no longer historically accurate, I do enjoy the shared communal experience of this celebratory time of year. So I've shared before that the ornaments that we share on our tree are highly sentimental, and certainly none of my decor is gonna win any HGTV award. Our tree, in essence, serves purely as a vertical memory album because the one thing that I like to get from the gift shop, really the only thing, because we don't do a bunch of like knickknacks when we travel to state parks or historical houses or homes like that. But I do like getting an ornament from the gift shop. It's a great way to just commemorate that you were at that particular location. And I really like this because looking at our tree with all of the different locations or events that we've attended across the year truly is a conversation starter, and more importantly is a great way to be appreciative and thankful of all the things that we've already had rather than, again, thinking about what you want. But I don't know if you get exactly what this feels like. So let me have you join my husband and I as we set up the tree.
Me wander off on a tangent for a bit, but now let's get back to the kitchen because yes, I've still got a lot of recipes to share. Did you know that you can keep a steady supply of Brussels sprouts all winter long by fermenting them? And if you love Brussels sprouts but you're worried that your family may not enjoy them fermented, this recipe may change their mind.
Fermenting Brussels sprouts involves submerging them in a saltwater solution or a brine to create an anaerobic environment where beneficial bacteria like lactobacillus thrive and harmful bacteria are completely deprived of oxygen. So after washing and cleaning your sprouts, I like to create a 3% brine, which is 1.5 tablespoons of salt to 4 cups of water. And next is the fun part, the seasonings, which you want to infuse with. And for me, that is tons of garlic and a few spoonfuls of this Korean fermented pepper paste that I find at Trader Joe's, which carries a slow building heat rather than a sharp burn, but is also sweet and tangy on top of rice or as a standalone, you know, that kind of thing. I use a glass weight to keep the contents fully submerged and a fermentation lid so that I don't have to worry about burping my jars. You'll see in a minute that I almost forgot my secret ingredient, thinly sliced pickled ginger, which complements the acidity of ferments that can throw your taste buds off. You've got to try this because pickled ginger really provides a refreshing contrast that makes ferments more enjoyable and versatile.
This next recipe is so savory, so bacony, so creamy, but without the carbs, and it's a perfect freezer meal.
Start by chopping a few onions, which for this recipe, I like to mix red and white onions together. And then take some butter and melt in a cast iron pan over low heat. Next, take sliced Brussels sprouts and add them to the pan to roast and generously top with your chopped onions. Give everything a quick massage while your pan is still cool, and then ladle generously with minced garlic. Mix that through a bit, and then you're going to take some pepper and sprinkle that on top and salt to taste. Warm your pan to medium heat and cook for several minutes, stirring occasionally. Place a lid on top to keep things warm, and then next you need cheese. Whatever you have works, but try to combine two for contrast. I'm using a cheddar and Parmesan blend and Havarti cheese. Once things are tender and very, very fragrant on the stove, you're going to pour in heavy cream and then stir until things start to simmer. And after that, you're going to drizzle with your cheese and bacon, panko breadcrumbs, or both. Transfer it to the oven and bake for 15 minutes or until the Brussels sprouts are fork tender. What comes out of the oven is the most decadent, delicious, and creamy soft Brussels sprouts that are drenched in flavor and cheesy goodness to a degree that is deceptively hard to recognize that you're eating Brussels sprouts. It's a win for you, your taste buds, and a recipe that takes just a few minutes and one pan to assemble.
Now, don't you just love a classic chicken dish? Well, this one meets the criteria that you need. Seasoned, savory, quick, and healthy.
I cook with grass-fed butter when I can, and the contrast and how much darker it is compared to conventional butter is stunning. That's because grass contains high levels of beta-carotene versus cows that mostly eat grains. Anywho, butter was my fat of choice to cook the chicken breast in, and then I sprinkled it with a little bit of seasoned salt, and now while the chicken is cooking, I'm actually going to take this as a travel meal, so I'm packing it in those aluminum pans that I just showed you. And for the next part, I'm going to dice up some onions. Then I'll remove the chicken breast from my pan and put them in my tin pans. And next I'm going to layer over some mushrooms. These could have been canned ones that I had in my pantry. And then I'm using unmarinated artichokes, which are on sale and in season at this time of year. And you're going to ladle over a layer of these over top of the mushrooms and chicken. Okay, let's get back to the stove to create our herb-infused sauce, which starts with our sauteed onions and generous amounts of rosemary, which is still growing in my potted planter out on the deck. And so then after I've destemmed all of that, I'm going to sprinkle a thin layer of flour on top before pouring chicken stock over this so that you can create a sauce that will thicken up for you in just a few minutes. I like to season this with a little bit of black pepper and smoked paprika and chili flakes. And then after a few minutes, here's our rosemary infused sauce. It is so yummy. All right, so you're just going to ladle your sauce on top of your chicken, and then you're going to bake this in the oven for about 40 minutes. Sometimes I pair this with pasta, but tonight I didn't because it is filling enough. And what comes out of the oven is something that looks like it came from a food magazine. The artichokes are tender and savory with the infused sauce, as is your chicken. Now, artichokes are a nutritious, antioxidant-rich, and fiber-filled food, and paired with this healthy sauce, it's a chicken meal that tastes as good as it smells. All that's left to do is to seal this up, write what it is on the contents, and this will be perfect for a future freezer meal. All right, so here's another way to use artichokes for breakfast. And so it's really simple, quick, and savory. I just start by sauteing bunches of onions in butter, and then I add a hefty amount of garlic. After your onions are caramelized, I will add whatever green veggie I have on hand. So whether it's kale or chard or spinach, I'll go ahead and add that to the pan and let that cook down. And then I'll fold in a lot of my artichokes. And then I usually stick with the Italian seasoning. So either an Italian seasoning blend or oregano, and then I'll add a little bit of spice with some chili flakes and pepper. And what we now have is this really savory, veggie-heavy base that's cooked in a healthy fat. I'm again just cracking out my aluminum pans because I'll be traveling with this dish, but I am pretty much assembling it like a casserole. So I'll put a layer of the veggie mix, then with some mozzarella cheese, and then a layer of just some beaten eggs, another layer of cheese, and then I'm going to add these pans to the oven. What comes out of the oven is this savory souffle. So you have that final layer of cheese, and I think I sprinkled some smoked paprika on there, but then you have your fluffy eggs. You'll see that thick layer there, then with the savory kind of artichoke and your greens, and this is just a nutritious way to start the day. And let me tell you, this meal really sticks to your ribs.
Now here's a chili recipe that lets you swap seasonal ingredients out for a savory dish you didn't even know you were missing.
Starting with 2 quarts of canned turkey from last year, since I'm canning some more of this. And this is going to be a turkey pumpkin crockpot chili recipe. Now, many people associate pumpkin with sweet recipes like pie. But in chili, the pumpkin takes on a savory, rich quality that surprises and delights even the most skeptical eaters. This recipe doesn't stray far from the traditional chili structure. It still has the smoky spices, savory meat or beans, and the comforting warmth that you'd expect. Side note, look at how moist and tender the clearance turkey I canned last year for 59 cents a pound is. Okay, let me get back to trying to convince you to try this pumpkin chili. I'd say that the pumpkin is subtle, it's not overwhelming, and it simply enhances what's already good about chili. The full recipe is in your grocery guide, but I think you're likely picking up that this recipe typically involves the same process as traditional chili: sauteing aromatics, browning your meat and adding your spices, and then you stir in the pumpkin puree with a little bit of chicken broth and just let it simmer. It is no more complicated than your classic go-to chili. Walk away from the crock pot for the next 2 to 3 hours, and when you come back, you've got this. Oh, now tell me that this doesn't look good and it smells even better. About once a week during the winter, I can find clearance salad kits like watercress and spinach and arugula blends marked down at a nearby grocery store. Then, to keep things quick, I reach into my pantry to grab a couple of jars of home canned chicken. Remember, this is chicken that's fully cooked. Darling, that was the sound of freshness. I think these jars were something like 2 years old. But now, go ahead and take a look. You have canned chicken breast. That one is super moist. There aren't any fillers. This stuff isn't processed. It is just as tender and juicy and fragrant as the day that I canned it. And I love having fully cooked proteins on my shelf ready for these meals. I am telling you, it is the #1 way that I'm able to expedite, just getting really good, healthy home cooked meals on the table. And look, this is pricey if you were to buy or to have a manufacturer do this for you. But these are jars that I've reused for years. This is meat that I probably got, on clearance or on some type of store sale. And I'm telling you, I come out way ahead in terms of our budget and the amount of time that it takes me to be able to cook these meals. Oh, it's just a win-win all around. All right, so you're going to add the chicken to that same bowl. Then you're going to go ahead and add the greens. Remember, this is the bowl that we have our creamy mayo, cream cheese mixture in. And you just want to make sure that that then starts to coat everything because you've got a lot of flavor happening right now. So yeah, you want to give everything a really good mix. And then, ta-da, here are the artichokes again. Why not? Canned artichokes at least, they're so easy. They're so tender. Their flavor is really adaptable to a number of dishes, and they really pack a nutritional punch. So then, y'all, that's it. Don't you just love those meals that are one pan? So I'm just spreading a little bit of bacon grease on my pan, and I am pouring our spinach artichoke mix. I don't know what you call this, but that's going into the pan. And you'll just button this recipe up by adding some cheese on top. It can be any kind of cheese that you have on hand. It looks like I had some mozzarella, and then you're going to pop this pan in the oven just to melt the cheese and to warm things through because everything is fully cooked. What comes out is this. It is so delicious. This is creamy, this is cheesy. There are healthy fats, there are tons of veggies. It's so tender to eat. Each bite is enjoyable. Here is what a finished slice looks like. I think I'm gonna go ahead and take this to lunch tomorrow for work, but the rest of this is going in the freezer.
To get more from scratch recipe inspiration, click on the video on your screen. I'll see you in my kitchen or garden soon. Take care, friends.